All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, or just gentlemen, I don't know if there was any ladies that watch the kitchen table, but welcome to the kitchen table. Today, I mean, everybody knows that I'm a fireman. I do fireman stuff, but I am looking to branch out, and I got a buddy of mine who perfect guy to fucking start branching out with. So let me give you a quick intro. He was joined the Navy SEALs right after high school in July 2001. Went through BUD/S training class 242, and after completion was assigned to SEAL Team 2, where he served as lead breacher, team leader, and other various capacities for multiple combat deployments overseas in the Middle East. He detached from SEAL Team 2 in 2009, where he spent his last year on active duty at Naval Special Warfare Training Detachment Assault Cell, teaching all East Coast SEAL teams CQB tactics. Since leaving the SEAL teams, Ben has started his own CQB training company called Vanilla Guerrilla Security. But he was also, this is where it comes in for me, he was also a fireman in Peoria, Illinois for close to 10 years. So that being said, and now he's the CEO of his own company. And so here's a good thing. Straight off an amateur water skiing expedition on the lakes of the Ozarks, here is the original Vanilla Guerrilla, and I've been waiting to say this, the OG VG, if you will, Ben Wallick. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
What's up, Kenny, man? It's great to be on, brother. Bro, and it's been a long time since I saw you last.
Yeah, you know what, man? It's been a while since I saw you, but I feel like I see you all the time because I follow you on Instagram and your YouTube videos and stuff like that. So it's like when you see that stuff, I feel like I talk to you a lot because I see you talking and doing all your training and shit like that.
Yeah. It's a great way to stay connected with friggin' team buddies. You know,
for sure, man.
You know, you're texting back and forth about stuff. You're sending each other reels. You know, it has its benefits for sure.
Yeah,
I know that file sounds sexy, but it's like, you know, everyone knows I'm pretty much, a dumb snow chimp. So,
so
Snow Chimp was one of my other nicknames too.
So. You got Snow Chimp and Vanilla Guerrilla. That was given to you in BUD/S?
Not really BUD/S. I mean, it was more in the platoon.
Okay.
And then kind of carried over into like some contract work I did. But yeah, I mean, there's a story behind it. I mean, for obvious reasons, like, you know, I had a bunch of nicknames with anything that lacked pigment. Almighty Whitey, Snow Chimp, you know, Gorilla, you know, Q-Tip, Powder, you know, you name it.
Powder. Remember that movie? Oh my God.
Only I don't have special powers. I wish I did.
I don't think you want those powers from that guy. So, all right, let's so you get out of what made you go into the SEALs right out of high school? Like, how'd you know you were going to be a SEAL?
I mean, I basically so I saw the movie Predator when I was 7 years old, you know, and then I was painting mud, and I was like painting myself in mud in the backyard afterwards. And so like, I was like, you know, I'm going into SOF. I'm going to be commando. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to the jungle. I'm going to patrol. I'm going to say 5 meters spread, no sound, you know, and I'm going to do it. And so I'm like, you know, I wanted to go in the Army, you know, because they were all Green Berets in that movie. And then I got into high school, and I'm starting to get all the books, do the research, you know, all the different SOF communities, and all the books that I kept reading kept saying BUD/S was the hardest program. Now, I'm sure a bunch of SOF guys would argue that point, but at least the books I was reading as a dumb high school kid was like, BUD/S has the highest washout rate, you know. And so I'm like, well, I got to go to that, you know. I wasn't like into water stuff, but I'm like, well, I have to go to that thing. So
that's the hardest one. I want to do the hardest one.
So that's how I ended up, you know, right out of high school with literally like 2 hairs on my chest. I mean, like, well, I post, you know, my social media, like our BUD/S class got filmed.
Right.
You've seen some of that on social media.
Yes.
Which is like very rare, because like the Discovery Channel, you know, 234 video, which is out there, like there's not a lot of other BUD/S classes that got filmed like extensively with large amounts of film. And our proctor just walked around with an old camcorder, you know, one of those big camcorders, and just filmed like 4 hours of our first phase. And then he gave it to us on a DVD afterwards. Wow. And, you know, I kept it and had it translated or, changed over to digital a couple years ago. I found it in my basement, actually. And you know, and I've been using it, you know, just for fun, like just post it because it's 20 years old. And
it's awesome.
yeah, it's like that doesn't, usually happen. And, guys in my class are texting me or I'd reach out to me on social media and they're like, hey, where'd you get that? I'm like, don't you remember he gave us a DVD?
Everybody got one.
And they're like, I don't know what the hell happened to that thing.
I originally thought that you were class 234 because I saw that Discovery.
Yeah.
Like I'm fascinated with you guys and the SEALs and all special forces, but the SEALs were always like I'm like a little fanboy. I'm not afraid to admit it, of the SEALs. But I saw the Discovery one of 234, and then when you first started posting those, I initially thought that was you, but you guys are 242, class 242, right?
242. Yeah, I mean, it's like I had like 4.5 hours of raw footage, and obviously I post like little sections and little reels and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool because it's like. But to your point about me, me having 2 chest hairs growing in out of high school,
you said that, not me.
I know. I look at some of those videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I look like a freaking little kid. Like,
you was 17, 18 years old.
Oh, but it's just weird, man. It's like,
It's,
I couldn't it's like going, like becoming a SEAL and not even, able to drink. It was just, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like going to war. And it was just, it's like weird looking back on how you don't feel like you look that young when you're that age, but man.
Right. Now, did you, right after boot camp, did you go to an A school or did you go right to SEALs? Like when I was in the Navy, you had to go to an A school first. And then like it was a long wait to guys that I knew.
I didn't know you were in the Navy.
Yeah. I was a hull tech. I was an HT, a turd chaser, bro.
Oh, I didn't know that. A lot of team guys would pick that as their rating.
Yeah.
Like when I went in, like I went in under a SEAL contract.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to get screwed. Like I heard other guys say, like, don't, go in under contract. And all that says is like they give you a chance to take the screening test and all that. Doesn't mean you can go to buds. But I went in under contract, but like there were certain rates, that were compatible with the SEAL contract. And I remember like a lot of dudes would pick hull technician, a lot of dudes would pick gunner's mate. I ended up picking IT, and I'm not even going to go into that long story, only because my dad is like, hey, you should get free training on, the wave of the future on technology. And I hate anything IT. I hate any, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good idea, Dad. And, so then I'm in A school at Great Lakes with all these pimple-faced, dorks that love computers and IT stuff. And I'm like, oh gosh, I need to get to buds now. Like,
get me the fuck out of here with these nerds.
Oh, it was bad. So,
was your dad in the Navy?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. All right.
He missed Vietnam by a year, I think.
Yeah.
But he tells me all the time, he's like, if I would have been in Nam, I would have been special forces.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he tells me. And here's the thing, like my dad's, he's a nut. Like, I mean, he raised my brother and I like, like crazy people, but like I don't doubt that he would have been.
Yeah. Oh man. So
I had to go to A school and,
Okay, you did. All right. And then right after A school, you went to buds.
Yeah.
All right. And now buds is notorious for being the hardest military training there is. Like you said, some soft guys would, argue that, but for the most part, civilians think that, buds is really hard. You made it through in one shot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty rare, is it not?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. It can be. I mean, like, a lot of guys, end up getting rolled or injured,
whatever.
Class that was on his 5th buds class or something. He'd done 3 hell weeks before that.
Oh my God.
Whole Navy career going to buds, out to the fleet for 3 years. Going to buds, out to the fleet.
That's just a glutton for fucking punishment right there.
He did it through in my class, and then he kind of, he was grumpy towards, guys like me and the other 2 guys who were the youngest in the class that were just like, oh, this is easy. This is like,
yeah.
I was like, the shape that I was in was, I mean, it couldn't hurt me,
Right.
I was in phenomenal shape, like top runner in my class, O course, like, but because I just couldn't get hurt. It's like now it's like, if they're like, you're going to buds, I'd be like, check, please.
Yeah, fuck that. Where's
no? Like, I'm
hell no. You want me to go on runs after 2:00 in the morning? Get the fuck out of here. No, hell no. What was the toughest part of fucking? Go ahead.
Well, no, it's your perspective. Like, you don't have to be friggin' triathlete, like, Stallone looking, Schwarzenegger looking guy. I mean, like when I showed up to buds, I remember like looking at all these dudes, because you square up dudes and you see dudes with round t-shirts that have made it through Hell Week. And you look at some of these guys and from my dumb, young kid perspective, I'm like, that dude made, I'm doing this, like, but it's, yeah, you got to be in physical shape, but it's like, it's mental, but it's really more like, do you really want to do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and for me, it was my world. Like, I was not going to call my dad, if I all week and tell him that I quit. Like, I was more scared of doing that than the BUDS instructors.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, it's perspective. It's like how bad do you want to do it?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you have to be in shape so you don't get injured, so you can pass the swims and the runs and the O course. It's really just like, how bad do you really want to do it?
Yeah.
Because if there's any, if you're threading the needle with how bad you want to do it, mid Hell Week, at least Tuesday night, you're going to be like, this dude next to me in the surf zone that literally we're locked arms, and he looks at me, and I could tell he's got this glazed over look in his eye, like he's about to quit. You guys are going to quit. And he looks over at me, and he goes, F this, I'm going to Denny's. Like the rest
Denny's.
Yeah. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm out of here.
And just fucking quit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah. If you want it bad enough, there's no plan fucking B. It's just this is what I'm doing, and this is what I gotta go through to get to it.
And typically, like, most of the guys that make it through BUDS are older guys, and I say older, mid-20s, or guys that went to college, realized, and then this is what they want to do.
A little more mature.
Yeah, a little more mature. Yeah. Guys like me there's not as many that make it through. Okay. And because again, you're young, dumb, and you know the rest. and you're just scatterbrained, and and then you make a poor decision and you don't decide not to stay. So,
oh man, is it true that like some of the instructors, when you guys were freezing fucking cold, they'd be drinking like hot chocolate like right in front of you with a hat? Just fucking with you guys.
Yeah, they'd have a table set up or a fire, and they'd be like, hey, little buddies, anyone want to come by the fire and have a donut? And it's tempting.
Yeah, for sure.
Which goes back to that, like, if you're not like sold out, like you want to be there, like they're gonna provoke you to stimulate that, and it's gonna cause you not to be there.
Right. What was the toughest part of BUDS for you? I mean, it was all fucking tough, of course, but what was the one? Did you ever have a point where you were like, oh man, this is tough? Did you know something was coming, like drown proofing or something like that would kill? Like I'm terrified of something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't be like arrogant to be like, no, like nothing. But like I see, you have to understand, Kenny, like my whole existence in life has been dopamine chasing.
Yeah.
Like doing wild stuff as a kid, my dad doing wild stuff with me, and like out of control. Like I like out of control stuff, or like stuff that I can't control. And I like to be a part of that moment. And so like for me, like BUDS every day, like you're sore and it sucks and you're uncomfortable. But like for me, it was like, I shouldn't say fun, but like it was, because it was like, what are they going to do next?
Yeah.
What's going next? Or like Hell Week. I mean, honestly, like the reason I made it through Hell Week is because all I was thinking about the whole time is like, oh, what's happening next? I don't want to miss it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to miss what they're going to do next, because like somebody might die, like an instructor might completely lose it and start like beating a student to his death, like and I was like, this is like out of control, and like
oh man,
too like captivated.
Yeah. Just you got the rush off of that, man.
It's not how miserable I was. Like I was too captivated by the activity that was occurring. It's fun for me, I guess.
Yeah. All right, what was the most fun part of BUDS for you? Or
I would say, I mean, I really love the obstacle course. Like that was, I was the fastest guy in my class in the obstacle course.
Nice.
Just because I was into rock climbing, growing up, and I was into rock climbing in high school big time. And so I just was like, that was my, like, I just loved the obstacle course. And my dad was, he was a climber. Like he was a part-time fireman, like I mentioned, but did tree work for 30 years. And so, as a kid, I'd watch him go up these trees with his saw, just like a machine, like a friggin' monkey. And he loved, climbing too, which is like, and I mentioned this before to other guys, like he came out for my graduation, and my dad did the O course with me.
Did he really? That's fucking awesome.
I put him in a brown shirt. I told these white shirts that were out there that were practicing, like guys that hadn't up yet that he was a Master Chief over at Team 3. And he did, like Kenny, he did the whole obstacle course.
Really?
Like just followed me straight through it, no problem.
Yeah.
We're like practicing the dirty name or having trouble with it.
Yeah.
Like we're starting buds, and he just went right through it.
Oh fuck, man, dude, guy sounds like an animal. Like fucking
yeah. And you know, he a month later, I'm talking to my mom, and he's like, "Your father is still sore. That obstacle course." And I'm like, well, I don't doubt that it, you know, I mean,
but he did it, and he wasn't going to not do it.
And he told me, which I'm, you know, living up to what he even, you know, 20 years later, I'm still living up to on his podcast. He's like, I want you to tell everyone that your old man did the O course.
All right. We got it on record here on the kitchen table. What's your old man's name?
I really enjoyed the O course and stuff. So.
Awesome. Very, very cool. What's your dad's name?
Rich.
Yeah. Rich. You did the O course in fucking buds, man. Awesome. I hope I get to meet you one day. Because I remember when I first met you, you were like, oh, my dad, like you talking, your dad was benching, like lifting weights or something like that. I feel like I remember we had a conversation about your dad.
Oh, I tell stories about him all the time because he's just, he's out there. He's
awesome.
Very interesting.
Very cool.
Individual.
Well, he was a fireman, so I get it. Yeah. All right. So you get out of buds, you get through buds unscathed, basically. And you get to SEAL team, you get assigned to SEAL team 2?
Yeah. So I pretty much put team 2 on there, you know, as the team I went to, because I actually showed up to SEAL team 8 originally, but we were only at SEAL team 8 for like literally a couple months, did a couple little training things. And then there's a thing called Force 21 that happened. This was 2003.
Oh, right.
And so what it was like, they were just pumping dudes overseas, and they needed tons more dudes, you know, because of the GWAT going on. And we ended up getting shifted over to team 2. Basically our whole troop, for the most part, or most of the guys in that task unit, got chipped over to team 2. And then I was at team 2 the rest of my time.
Okay. Right. I just to go back, 9/11 happened while you were in buds. Is that correct?
No, it happened when I was in boot camp.
In boot camp, in Navy boot camp, before you went to buds.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the vibe? What was the vibe like from boot camp when 9/11 happened?
It was weird in boot camp. I mean, you know, like, because you don't have, it's not like you're sitting there watching TV or reading newspapers or anything like that. So like there was all kinds of crazy, you know, scuttlebutt going on, you know, about what happened, and like totally exaggerated and all that. And finally the RDC like sat us down in front of Fox News and like, we watched what was happening. So, and obviously in my mind, I'm like, you know, I know the trajectory that I'm, you know, going towards. I'm like, oh, this might make this interesting, you know.
Were they like, you guys were going to war? That's, you know, that's that. Be ready.
But again, like, you know, we just talked about Navy SEALs Charlie Sheen, you know, before, but like in my mind, that's what even, you know, 9/11 aside, like just, you know, even before 9/11 happened and I'm in boot camp, that's what I think I'm going to go do, like all the time.
All the time.
And before 9/11, there wasn't any dudes slinging lead at anything.
Right.
What soft unit it was. There wasn't nothing going on.
Nothing. Yeah.
Booze cruises. Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy how things changed very quickly.
Little isolated stuff. I mean, even development group guys and tier 1 level guys, not going, hitting the targets and doing assaults all the time. Like that's right. It didn't happen. It didn't exist. So,
yeah. So, all right.
You know, they just don't realize that it's,
yeah. I was just kind of curious as to what the vibe was like being away and what they're telling you. Like, I know how things were over here, but I didn't know what it was like for you guys. But all right. So you're at SEAL Team 2 now. Did that oar behind you come with you to SEAL Team 2? What is that? What is that?
The paddle?
Yeah, the paddle. I'm sorry. Yeah.
We got that when I left SEAL Team 2.
Oh, you got that when you left SEAL Team 2. All right.
When you leave any command, they give you a paddle.
Oh, okay.
They poem on it, and they you know, and
little haiku.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, they put a poem in it. If they like you, it has a legit poem on it that is it. And if it says, like, you know, fair winds and following seas from SEAL Team 2.
Yeah,
if they like you. It says some stuff. Well, you want me to
what does yours say? Thanks, bro.
I'll read it real quick.
All right. Who you got up top? Who you got up top there? What do you got? Fucking Tony Montana up there?
No, it does look like Joe Montana.
It does look like Tony Montana.
No, Tony Montana. No, that is Commando Schwarzenegger.
Okay, I can't. It's hard to see from
that
back.
Little gorilla thing's a kid.
Yep. Yeah.
It bought me, and then I got this from my last birthday last May that says "World's Biggest Turd," and this is the only gift that I got, and they put a picture of me as a kid in it.
Yes.
It's the only present I got because I've kind of Kenny, I kind of built and I'm sure this is the same in your house because of the fire service, but I kind of built an animal or a monster with showing affection through roasting or showing affection through making fun of each other.
Yep.
And I do it with my kids, and my kids do it with me, and so that birthday gift is evident of that. But
hold on, can I put up a picture of you and your family here?
Yeah.
Look at that. That is fucking.
That's a few years back, but
yeah. You got your own little entry team there, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, my oldest Avery is just turned 18 now, so it's like, sheesh.
Yeah.
It just goes by like a blink of an eye, man.
That's fucking great. I love that picture, man.
But yeah, we roast each other almost too bad. Where my wife, the other day, she's like, I think you might have to bring it back just a little bit of notch with Blaine, my son, because it's like we call each other gay and or whatever, and
right.
She's like, man, it's getting a little out of hand. I'm like, yeah, but he knows that's how I show love, and
it's just fun. There's no. I break my son's chops all the time. Yeah, all the time. My wife's like, stop! Will you stop?
Yeah, it's team guys do that, and firefighters do it, and it's just. And here's the thing, Kenny: if guys don't make fun of you, you're not liked. That's down. That's it. I open up my Instagram DMs from team guys, and it's all like, "You're gay, you're retarded." You're it's them sending me stuff to make fun of me.
Yeah,
but it's like that's what they do, and so I guess this paddle that I guess I'll read real quick is evident of that. Where, like I said, if they didn't really like you, you're just going to get a fair winds and following seas type of thing. But here's mine: a myth, a legend. Nope, just albino fury. If he comes at you, no need to worry. Inside, he's just gentle and sweet, really just a ball of big white meat. His volume control got broken long ago. Just sit next to him and try to watch a show, because I do have a laugh that's like a hyena on crack. He'll let out a squeal and you'll have blood in your ears. His albino mating call will bring you to tears. He has other talents too, and you may ask what. He'll show you how he can suck air through his butt. Which I can do. Always at the gym so he can get as big as a house. Unfortunately, his meat wagon is the size of a mouse. Don't ask him for a hot plate, because that's what you'll get. A to-go plate filled with steamy hot shit. We'll miss you, Ben, and not because you look like an exotic bird. You're always a good man to have around and not much of a turd. Lastly, don't argue evolution with Ben, because he'll put up a big stink, but from monkey to man, Ben, you are the missing link.
Yeah. Bro, that's fucking awesome. Awesome.
And here's what's even more, I guess, even funnier about that is when you leave the command, they have this ceremony, or semi-ceremony. It's not formal, but all the command staff is there. Everyone's there. They present you with the paddle. And then they read that in front of the entire Team 2 command, and it had females. It had, and it's like, it's like, come on, guys. It's like, but
they're all probably just fucking laughing.
But again, that's what, that's what the teams was. And it's no different in the fire service.
No. It's exactly what you said. If the guys aren't breaking your balls or breaking your chops, you're probably not well liked. There are guys that have to talk to you because they have to, but if you're not getting pranks, if you're not getting pranks played on you, if you're not fucking, just cursing at you, calling you whatever, they probably don't even want to even associate with you. So
Yeah.
it's the same. It goes, the
Yeah.
SEALs and fire service go kind of hand in hand.
It goes with pranks and anything else, and hazing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say though, there was a distinction in the teams with hazing, with like welcome to the team hazing, but then there was a type of hazing which was satanic, which was like attitude adjustment hazing, which didn't really happen that often, but when it happened, like holy crap, like. So
speaking of hazing, what is this?
That's my birthday.
Is that duct tape? They got you duct tape?
Yeah, they taped, like, so they also taped me from toe to head, and then they taped my hand to my my what, because that's the stuff they do. And then they did end up taping me over my whole face. They took it off like for this, but like, and then they taped over my mouth, and I can't breathe. And I'm okay, whatever. This is it, And then somebody like punched a hole. I don't know if it was like a spider cone knife or something. Something punched a hole in the tape, and I was like, I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna live. And then like there was a funnel put in it, and all kinds of drinks being poured down it.
Oh my God!
I mean, it was. I was so sick, and then I started to projectile vomit. And then like I can feel it on my face, because my eyes was taped like you saw in the picture. And then they're like, some dude in the back's like, hey, like maybe we should like put him on the side, And then
one guy,
like one guy that's like probably an officer,
Yeah, maybe this isn't right, man.
That doesn't really approve, but doesn't like not approve. And then they tilt me over, and and I'm just like throwing up, and it wasn't on my face anymore. But like, yeah, it was. And then we had like that was during SEAL qualification training, and we had a I don't know, 10-mile, 12-mile ruck hump with shooting involved. Like, it's a station thing the next day, dude. It was miserable.
That's fucking torture.
But that's like your birthday. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't give the guy a cake and maybe a nice gift card to Dave and Buster's or something. Like,
no, here's a duct tape and a spider cone knife in your fucking mouth.
It's like my one team buddy was like, they were tasing this. They hazed their new guy real bad at this Army base, and the Army base guy, the officers found out about the base, because we were always like, we always like overstayed our welcome and pissed the base off because we were doing stupid stuff. But the officers like called their troop chief in, and he goes in like, in civvies or either civvies or PT gear or something. Yeah. And these Army officers sitting there, and they're like, they heard about what happened. They told them about what happened. They said, what would cause another teammate, a fellow teammate, to do that to another teammate? Because they're just like, how could this happen? And I get from my buddy says, he's like, the troop chief just stood there, and he's like, I don't know. Like, was it his birthday? Almost acting like annoyed that you like have brought me in. And I guess these officers are just like, what is wrong with you humans? Like, what is wrong?
What is wrong with you guys? Like all fucking Neanderthals?
Pretty much.
Yeah. But I mean, listen, the fire department, we broke balls. I don't know if we quite went that far. Some places might have. I've heard some stories, but that's pretty legit right there, man. So how many?
That was a fun.
Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, how many deployments did you do while you're in SEAL team? 3 deployments. Yeah. Iraq or Iraq and Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Man, that's legit. Man, now how long were deployments?
Those at the time were 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Which honestly is, for the op tempo that team guys have on those, we're having on those deployments during GWAT, it was too much.
6 months is too much.
Yeah, like meaning like after 4 or 5 months in, guys tend to be like, not that they still want to go run and gun and kick doors in, but they get a little lax with like okay, we're just going out again, like another night, and it gets a little bit like burnt out-ish after.
Right. Yeah, let me put up a picture here. There you go. Look at you without the beard.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I look like a little kid without a beard. Some of the Tomahawk guys told me that. Like, you have a beard. You look like a little beta male.
Here's another one. Oh, that's Predator right there, bro.
Oh yeah.
That's fucking Predator.
Yeah, and that's. And I was like, I always wanted to go to SEAL Team 4 because Team 4 was the jungle team,
Okay.
Before 9/11. So before 9/11, they had like each team had like an AO.
Yeah.
Team 2 would go and train with the Norwegian Special Forces dudes, the Jaegers, and Team 4 would go to South America. Team 8 would Marg platoon would work off of ships.
Yeah.
Then 9/11 happened, and all that went.
It just went. It was just get everybody over there and fucking kicking indoors, right?
Yeah. So it's like my hopes of going to Team 4 and doing jungle patrols with a minigun were lost.
Yeah. Now you were lead breacher.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And team leader. Now, fucking, how do you become a lead breacher? Now you're blowing up doors, right? That's how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you go to lead breacher school.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a month and some change. And then that's kind of like what you do is with the different tasks that guys do, on deployment and things like that. I mean, like each platoon would have to have a certain amount of, breachers, snipers, comms, medics, to be like deployable, so forth. So, because I'm a knuckle dragging snow chimp. Like, breaching went well with me because like you want me to sledge a door, like I'll sledge that thing until I basically pass out.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. It's not all just fucking blowing a door. You could use a halligan. You guys call it a hooligan, a sledge, or a maul, and taking down doors every which way possible. That must have worked well when you got into the fire service too.
Yeah, because you before you learn explosive breaching, like and shotgun and all that kind of stuff, using the shotgun, you do all manual.
Yeah.
So that was a benefit when I got in the fire department.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Use a sledge or hoolie or set the hoolie or anything like that.
Yeah. A big dude like you probably kicked a couple doors in too, I bet.
And honestly, the in Iraq especially, you're not really using manual tools a whole bunch in Iraq because a lot of them were steel doors.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it was difficult as a breacher, explosive breacher, because sometimes you'd have to like figure out because usually it was like a metal door, at least primary entry. And then you get inside and there hardly is any doors, just sheets hanging and stuff. But like there'd be like a metal bar that would go across at some point in the door. And you'd have to we were using ECT at the time, for our breaching charges, which is like a cutting charge. And so I'd have to kind of you get the kind of hang of it after you've seen enough houses and all that. But like you'd have to place it where, hopefully where that bar is going to cut it and further breach to, because the worst thing ever is having to come over comms and say failed breach. Because you just made a butt ton of noise outside the target in downtown Fallujah, my third rotation. It's like,
everybody behind you's like, oh man, fuck, yeah.
And in the early days, the teams in breach, and it was like breach every door, crash every room, running with your hair on fire like Leroy Jenkins, and then it all shifted to this combat clearance stuff. And hey, let's sneak in. Let's not make a bunch of noise. Let's pie out thresholds. I mean, you've been on, trips and you've seen all,
Sure. Yeah. I've definitely learned a lot from watching you guys. But before 9/11, it was all, like you said, run and gun, like just fucking run in. And
it was like,
and then it all changed.
Like in my PowerPoints, I like to put funny clips in, for law enforcement groups because they have the same humor. But like I put that clip in from Navy SEALs where they all bust in online. Guy comes in through the rafters, and Charlie Sheen's like, clear, real clear,
Yeah.
And I show it just to bring up the point, like, this is what we did like in the early 2000s when I first came to the teams. Like, this is how we, did business. And me, in high school, I was a big paintball dork. Like, that's all I did was play paintball and rock climb. But I went to my buddy's farm and we had this giant paintball field and all that.
Nice.
And so but in paintball, like you're sneaking, right? You're sneaking, you're peeking around corners, like you're hunting, trying to shoot dudes. And like I get in the teams and we're just like running into rooms dynamically, crashing rooms, and I'm like, geez, okay, but this is the SEAL teams,
Yeah.
And then 3-4 years into GWAT, it's back to paintball, or what was combat clearance, which we did not learn those tactics until they were actually tested, by hardened opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started to realize, like, oh crap, our tactics kind of suck, and
Yeah.
they're old, and like their Vietnam era stuff,
Yeah.
or like the 90s era stuff that just wasn't actually. I mean, you do stuff at training and you high five each other, and okay, that looked cool, and
Yeah.
like, did it really get tested? Does it work?
Mm.
How do you know? Same thing
Right.
with the fire service. Like,
Well,
how do you know that works unless you get guys that, like, in some good burns, and oh, that doesn't work.
yeah, just like, you guys, a lot of your tactics are changed because they were written in blood, as one guy told me, because guys died. So we had to change tactics because guys were getting fucking killed. Just like in a fire department, we have evolutions and different tools and ropes and stuff because fucking guys died. So every time a fireman dies in a fire, something gets changed somewhere. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. So we know how that is too, for sure.
Yeah, and I wish there'd be some team guys and guys that I know, knew personally, that would still be around if the tactics didn't change earlier. But anything, any change, and doesn't matter if it's law enforcement, fire department service, teams, it's like older guys, they don't want to change, and the older guys were like, with the combat clearance stuff, it's slower, it's more methodical, using distance and angles, cover and concealment. It's not like, they're like, that's not aggressive. We're not friggin', we're not, that's pussy shit. Like we're going to be aggressive. And it's like, well, it can be aggressive, but tactful, but it's like, why? Like what,
Right.
Why do you need to run into a room with your hair on fire with hardened opposition if you can, pie out the threshold, get as much situation awareness into that space before you commit to it, land a helicopter off the target and hike in rather than land it on the X, all those types of things. It's like, it's you can still make it aggressive, but like, it's aggression with tactfulness, I guess.
Right. I've always found, especially in the fire service with the FDNY and, the war years that these guys had, the fires that they went to, a lot of guys died and they started changing stuff. The bunker gear came out instead of the rubber coats, but guys didn't want to change. And some of it was good, some of it was bad. But like older guys are very hard to change, man, when they've been doing shit for 20 years the same way. It's like, this shit works. Why would we change it? But certain things definitely can be upgraded, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just it's a giant, in the tactical world, it is just a giant dick measuring contest with guys. Getting involved, and it's just it can be very difficult to navigate new tactics and new stuff, because if a guy put his name, or been doing it a certain way and his name is on it, or his, that's what their platoon does or whatever, or their team, or it's just like the ego and pride thing gets in, and that's one of the things that bugs me about my community, is that the ego thing, and it's just constant freaking egos, man.
There's egos everywhere in businesses like that, man.
Oh, I know.
Let's I want to put up a picture or two more, and then we're gonna really, where you really challenge yourself in life. You were SEAL, whatever, but then you got on the fire service. But I want to put up another one or two more pictures of you, and we'll put up more pictures later. Look at this one. That's a badass picture right there.
Now, we were painting our faces just for fun. Only because, like, a lot of guys from my platoon and even my era guys, like, were guys that read all the Vietnam SEAL books. I read like this guy named Patches Watson. I read all the Faces books.
Yeah.
All I read in high school. Like, once I decided the SEAL thing. And so it was like, kind of nostalgic, like, not, frogs in Nam are painting their faces. Let's paint our faces here in Iraq.
Men with green faces.
Yeah. Which is not necessary. Well, it might be a little necessary for me, because, at night, like, the moon's going to glow off of my.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. You don't dye your hair, do you? You don't dye your hair blonde or anything like that, right? No.
No. Oh, you're regarding that one picture.
Look at this picture. Yeah. Look at this. Did you dye your hair there?
I did. we were doing some stuff in an area, and like again, even when I did contract work, I worked a job that protected case officers overseas GRS.
Yeah.
Like, I'm driving around, in areas, and, the locals are looking over in the car, and I kind of look like I do now. Like, what the, like a
Holy
unicorn.
shit.
I mean, like they just saw a unicorn. Like, what the heck is that? Like, that guy doesn't belong here. And so, anyways, we were doing some stuff in an area, and I decided to dye it, which didn't really. I mean,
A little just for men. Don't worry about it.
It didn't really do anything. And
you sent me a picture, and I was like, is that just a dark space? Wait a second. His hair is all dark.
Yeah. And then once my golden locks, Barbie hair started, coming up, I looked like an idiot. But
all right, so cool, man. So listen, you do some of the baddest shit that most people will never know, and you've done stuff that you can't tell people, whatever, and it's awesome. But to really challenge yourself, you get out of the SEAL teams, and you decide to become a Peoria fireman. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Well, so I did. So like your enlistments in the Navy, as you know, are 4-year stints usually.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do 6 automatically if I wanted the BUDS contract, because of the training. You have to 2 years.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, after the first 4 years, I was able to re-enlist for another 4. I got a little bonus, signing bonus, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then at 8 years, I technically would have, been up for reenlistment, and I was at our assault cell teaching all the East Coast team CQC, mm-hmm. and I didn't know if I was going to stay in or get out. I was kind of in this, like, all my good close buddies went over to development group.
Okay.
And I wanted to go that route. A lot of the guys that were pretty much most of all the guys that were assault cell with me ended up going over there and making it through green team, and
mm-hmm.
because that assault cell is a good place to be, because you're just teaching CQC. We would go out as cadre to Mid-South, to Shaw's, and like run and gun together and talk about stuff. Like, yeah. So it's a good cell to be in before you screen, type of thing.
Okay.
So I kept extending my time, because that's why I did about, almost just a month shy of 10 years, because I kept extending. Should I go? Should I screen? And it ended up kind of, I wanted to obviously involve my wife in the decision and all that. And I had 2 young daughters, and we both talked, and, given the fact that I was home like never for the last, 8 years, I decided to try to do the family thing.
Cool, man.
And not that like team guys that stay in and do careers, can't be great dads and do the family thing, but you are gone 70% of the time.
Yeah, you're going a lot, man.
Yeah, you're gone a lot. And so I decided to do the family thing, get out. And I thought I could just, kind of transition and completely get out, and not be involved in that kind of stuff anymore. But I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So I can't work in corporate sector, for obvious reasons. I mean, just look at my social media.
Nobody would get your jokes. Nobody would get your jokes. Yeah. They'd be highly offended.
Literally, Kenny, if they said like, Ben, you can work, $200,000 a year in this office, in this cubicle, typing in TPS reports, or whatever it is, right? You can do that, or you can make $60,000 by pushing a turd out back in the field, back and forth. I'd push the turd.
Yeah.
So can't do that kind of stuff. My brother was already on the Peoria Fire Department.
Okay.
Been on for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, they'll hire you here. They're military. They're very military. They love military guys.
Yeah.
It's like fire and law enforcement. It's a paramilitary type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'd seen Backdraft.
Here it is.
Badass movie,
Boom, there you go.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean,
just Backdraft is to the fire department as Navy SEALs is to Navy SEALs.
It is. It is. I mean, like that scene, like where they're, and I don't know the guy's names because I don't watch it enough, but he's like holding him, and he's like, you go I go,
You go, we go. Yeah.
you know, you see all those reels. It's like how men want to go out. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
so anyways, like I was like, yeah, that, you know, that sounds like I could definitely make a transition doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And my dad was a part-time fireman. You know,
Mhm.
he did tree work as his primary job, but he was part-time fireman. So as a kid, I remember, you know, I remember his turnout gear, you know, sitting, you know, after calls or in his truck
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so I decided to get out and do that. But there was some miscommunication on my brother's part about, like when they were hiring, you know, and all
Right.
that.
I was going to ask you, was there a test? Did they just hire you and send you to the, like, how does that work?
No, you know, no, it was like, well, my brother's like, yeah, they're hiring, you know, so I get out of the teams. Right.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, going to go to Peoria and, you know, and take the test and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It was like a written test.
Right.
And then in a lie detector test.
They give you a lie detector test for the fire department?
Yes.
Fuck, Daddy. You're like, bro, I was a Navy SEAL for 10 fucking years.
Dude,
And you're giving me a lie detector test?
I didn't even have you know, what's the technical term for it? Not lie detector.
A fucking lie detector. I don't know.
But like I was like, I didn't get this in the SEAL teams.
Right. Right.
We took a psych test, you know, like
Let me
in the teams. But like I'm like, why do I have to take a freaking
a lie detector test?
It's not
Hold
lie
on.
detector test.
No, it's not. It's
I can't believe I'm not thinking of the name of it. It's a very simple name.
polygraph. Polygraph.
Jeez.
Polygraph.
I am. But yeah, like I took a polygraph test for the fire department, and like, dude, I was nervous, and there was some stuff in the teams that happened and stuff overseas, and it was a little bit
some sketchy shit. We did some sketchy shit.
Questions, and dude, I felt like the kid from the Goonies, like, you know, where they're about to put his hand in the blender, and I was like, and then in fifth grade, I pushed my sister down the stairs, and I blamed it on the dog. Like, I mean, I was uncomfortable.
You're like, what? Like, we're gonna go into fires. We're going into fires. Why do I need to do I had a similar thing when I was an air marshal. Like, I was an air marshal for like a year and a half, and you get a top secret clearance for the government. And when I got in the fire department, my background was a disaster. I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, do you understand? I had a top secret clearance with the government, and you're giving me all the shit. I missed like 2 classes because of my background investigator. Fuck the whole thing up. I don't have to do a polygraph though, so I kind of know where you're coming from.
Well, like they like one of my buddies that was trying to get on the department, like they asked about road rage, and you know, and obviously, like, I just said, no, I don't have road rage. But like, he was like, yeah, I have road rage. And they're like, how often? He's like, I don't know, like 4 times a week. Like,
all the fucking time.
He lived in like some big city or something, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, if I lived in Jersey, which I'm out there a lot, you know, with
yeah.
work, and it's like, I would be road. That's all I have is road rage.
Bro, if you cut me off in traffic, I'd come after you too.
Oh, those people are psycho out there.
Oh God.
In my little farm town, if you honk at somebody, it's because your car's on fire.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There, it's just like, you know, F you, and they're honking at each other like, you know, good morning. But
it's great. I live in an area now where it's nice. Nobody honks at each other. I mean, we're getting more people up here, but it's nice. It's kind of easy like that until I go into the city and I got to change fucking the way I am. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I hate it. So
anyway, yeah, so
polygraph,
you know, psych test, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then, but my I guess back to my point with like the job wasn't available, you know, when I got,
okay.
And I'm like, well, I got to put food on the table. So I did contract work for quite a while actually.
Wow.
You know, and that's when I did GRS, you know, protecting case officers overseas. And
that's pretty fucking wild.
So, you know, I had to go through a selection thing for that and all that, and did that, which the shooting test is actually pretty difficult. And like, but it was a lot different doing the contract thing than like the teams. Cause like, you know, if you didn't pass the shooting test, like you didn't get on the contract. And so, you know, in the teams, like they have various tests. Like once you get in the team, like, you know, they have different things, but usually it's like competition stuff and, you know, but it's not like you have to pass the shooting test when you're platoon or you can't be in the platoon anymore. Like,
yeah.
that really didn't exist. But like this shooting test, I was like, I was like so stressed out because I was like, man, if I don't pass this, like, I don't have a job. It was just different.
Right. Right.
Like,
Now
I'm
you got on that.
like looking at the target stands down there and like seeing my kid with like a plate with like food, like feed me,
I got to make the shot.
Yeah, it was different. It was just a different thing.
How did you get that job? I guess through team guys that got out too, or
the contract, the overseas gunslinging contract world is very much word of mouth, especially what contracts are the best, which pay the most, are the best contracts to get on that, depending on what you want to do, like kind of like it's all very nepotistic in the community. And guys will know this guy or know the lady that, and then they get your resume or funnel it to the proper channels. And because that contract, that GRS contract, you had to have 6 years in a soft unit with a year of that being deployed in a combat zone. So it was, all soft dudes and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much like word of mouth type stuff.
Okay.
So, but yeah, finally the fire job thing, opened up.
Yeah. Like you're doing this contract work and you're doing exactly what you didn't want to do, was being away from home for however long. How long were you away on those contract works?
It was like, it depended, usually there were 60-day rotations. Sometimes they allowed 30-day rotations.
Oh, okay.
But you could do, there was dudes that were doing 110 days or no, 100. No, it was like 100 days in country.
Wow.
And then they forced you to leave for like a week or something like that, or 2 weeks. and then dudes would come right back and do it. And it was like, I don't know, what, $750 a day or something like that.
Fucking making bank, bro.
So do the math,
that
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was gone a lot doing it because I was like, I'm never going to make this money ever again. Kind of money again. And, but what's funny about the contract world, especially those gigs that pay a lot, it's like, you got these knuckle dragging friggin' snow chimps, dudes that are making like, some $200,000 a year, and they're just blowing it in Vegas, just stupid stuff, or buying all kinds of lake house and boats,
hookers and cocaine, bro.
It's and it'd be funny to like sit at like the chow hall and listen to these guys talk about all their stuff they got and this new truck, and I'm like, at a lake house, and it's like, dude, you're never home. When do you even drive that thing? Like, but now there were a few guys that like, would invest it and use it to start a business or open up a Jimmy John's, or franchise Jimmy John's. But for the most part, you give a bunch of team guys money and they do stupid stuff. But
all right, so the fire spot opens up then.
It opens up. I took I did, you got to do the physical test, the combat challenge thing. And then you go to the academy. And that was, I can't remember how long it was. I want to say a month.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
8 weeks.
It was at least 2 months.
Yeah. I think I read that it was 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And how'd you do in the academy? I mean, you probably brought, all your SEAL training to the academy, to the fire academy, and you did pretty good, I guess. I would think.
Whatever. It was funny. I can distinctly remember like the first time I had a hose, and I felt like it was my gun,
Yeah.
But I'm in front of the door, and there's heat behind it and all that stuff. But I'm in front of the door, and I started to get away from the door, and I was off to the side. And the training chief is like, why aren't you up there next to the door feeling it? And I'm like, I'm in the fatal funnel because of CQC stuff. And that's a danger to be standing in front of the door with your gun.
Right.
And then I'm like, what in the heck am I doing? Like, this is a fire.
Yeah. I guess the academy was the first time you ever really experienced fire training. I mean, we took a fire class in boot camp. Do you remember like getting?
Oh yeah. Because we put
that's kind of where it piqued my interest a little bit.
And wasn't that like for the battle stations thing or something?
It was. I feel like I remember it was just.
We had that battle stations thing towards the end, and I want to say the thing was part.
Yeah, it was just like propane fire, I think, and you just go in and they shut it off for you, like you're not even doing anything. But so you're in the academy, and how many guys are in the academy with you?
Oh, shoot, I should know that. I want to say 12, I think.
Only 12 guys?
12, yeah.
Wow. Holy shit. There were 340 guys in my class.
This is NYFD.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Peoria is a decently sized city, but, you know, we're not.
Yeah. Now, you did something pretty special, though, in the academy, though, right? What did you do? Did you got a record?
Oh, no. Well, so like they do this thing, the combat challenge, and they got a board with, you can make the board or whatever, best combat challenge times and all that stuff. So
okay, what is in the combat challenge? If you remember,
it's the same layout as you see on the ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Like carry the hose,
shit like that.
5 flights or whatever it is, 5 stories. Grab the bucket thing or the rope and pull it up, down. Sledge the thing on the trolley.
Yeah.
Hose that's fully charged, spray it.
Yeah.
Pick up a dummy and drag the dummy.
Drag them. Okay, gotcha.
So, and what's sad though, Kenny, and you can definitely agree with this. What's sad is that they went like they used to use the combat challenge as like, you had to pass that to pass the physical standards, and they went to this CPAT thing, and they lowered the standards, because having done the combat challenge, for the screen, and the CPAT both, like it's not even comparable,
Right.
Right. Being on air and hauling all that stuff is just way different. But but anyways, like I wasn't obviously in bud shape or anything like that. I was 31 or 32 or something when I went to the academy, and or 30. But I was in pretty good shape. But like I was just like, you know what? I just want to get on the board at least. I got to represent NSW. Board. Like, if I don't get on the board, like I am going to be shameful. Like,
yeah, they're probably expecting you to be on the board at least.
Board, and then I'm looking at the times, and then after the first time we did it, I was like, oh crap! Like I was like on the board, but like threading the needle of not even being.
Ooh.
And I was like I went into like panic mode, and then my brother is on the very top. He had the record, and the guy before him, who is a psycho alpha male nut job that's in the, even now he's like, he was the chief for a while, a guy named Tony Artis, like just a dude, talk about fireman like that.
Yeah.
He would have been an awesome team guy.
Yeah.
But he had the record, for a while. And then my brother beat him. And then, and I'm looking at my brother's time and I'm like, no, like after what I just did, I'm like, no way, not even close. And so like jokingly, I just told him on the phone, I was like, hey man, like I see your name on the top of the, the top of the board, but it's going to go one rung down. And he was like, you will, the way that he said it to me was like, you will never beat my time. And I don't know. I was just like, I don't know if it rubbed me wrong or what, but I was like, okay. And so I stayed after every day and ran it, on air, full turnout gear, and just ran it. Like, we do our PT in the morning and then, cut away after the day, but I would say and do it.
Yeah.
And then the last, you do it like 5 times in the academy or something. But the last time you do the combat challenge, I ended up, beating his by a little bit, but
nice.
Yeah. But I was almost dead. Like, and I kid you not, like after I dragged that dummy, that last, thing over the line, like everything went, like passing out.
Yeah.
I fell down, and like, I've never been that hypoxic in my entire life. Like, even in the teams, even in all the stuff in second phase or water stuff in first phase and all the diving stuff in the pool week, like I've never been that hypoxic. I mean, I couldn't even like take off my our bunker gear that we had at the academy was the clips, and I couldn't even
lost all function of
They pulled all my gear off of me, and then I like crawled like a pathetic little human over to the grass and just threw up for like an hour.
Oh man, dude.
Like, I mean, obviously there was some stuff in my stomach, not much, but it was just bile, just over again.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Nobody came over and was like, maybe we should go to the hospital.
No, they were like making fun of me.
Oh man, dude.
And then, you know, and then I had like a migraine level headache the rest of the night. I couldn't eat.
Ooh. But you beat the time, man. But you beat the time.
Yeah, I guess I pushed myself a little too much.
So they say I've you know, I was telling, you know, I'm a little bit of a Navy SEAL fanboy. So in that documentary on Class 234, they were talking about guys, they would swim, whatever it was, and they would just, to touch the wall, they would black out. Swim till you black out, basically. That was kind of the same.
The undermeter water. There'd be a couple guys doing the funky chicken, you know, and pass out during that.
Right.
Because it's not, you know, you definitely, like, you know, if you're not really good at, like, you know, slide gliding through the water, like I wasn't graceful, you know, through the water, like you definitely like get past that uncomfortable point of holding your breath. But, you know, like it's like, you know, if I come up, I fail, I'm going to get beat by a buds instructor, or I just pass out. And then at least they're like, you know, he went till he passed out, you know.
He went till he passed out. He passed.
You don't pass, but at least like they you know.
He passed out, but he
yeah, they give you props for it, you know. But
so you get out of the academy.
That my time that I did beat, actually it just got beat by 1 second by another guy. Yeah. And then of course I had to get called, or not called, I got texted by a guy in the fire department, and he's like, it got beat, you know. Couldn't just with my own little, you know, thing out, thinking still up there, but that's how guys are. Oh, hey, he beat you.
I'd protest that, man. I need proof.
Yeah. You see the video.
Yeah. All right. So you get out of the academy, and your brother what is your brother doing here? He's tacking on your badge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Meaning, you know, sticking it in my skin type thing.
Yep.
You know, kind of like they did with like trident pinning parties, where they land that thing in your bare chest a million times until you wake up in the morning and you literally have a trident in like black and blue blood marks on your chest.
Yeah. They don't want it flying away. That's for sure.
Yeah.
When I made third class, because I got out as a fucking E4. The big thing was they were tacking on the crow, and everybody who was third class Ohio would fucking hit it. And then I had a pin on my hat, and this big dude, he grabbed it off my head, and he took the metal on the back and folded up. He goes, people are going to pop that into your head, and you're going to have fucking... So he looked out for me. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. He was like, yeah, they'll do that to you too, kid.
He looked out for me.
Yeah. So where'd you get assigned when you got out of the academy? Like how big is the department? First of all, how big is
12
PEORIA?
12 stations.
12 stations.
Majority of them 3-man stations. And then you have you got some. So most of the stations just 3 dudes with an engine, and then
just an engine, no truck in the stations.
No,
oh, really?
Most of them are just 3-man stations with an engine, and then you have some stations that have an engine and a truck. Obviously, you got 6 dudes at those stations.
Okay.
And there's only a couple of those, and then there's only a couple of those, and then you have like the main Fire Central station downtown that has, at least when I was on it, had a truck, an engine, and a rescue squad, and then a battalion chief was at that station as well.
Okay. Gotcha. So, all right. 12 houses or 12 stations, most of them engines, a couple with a truck with an engine, and the main one had a truck, engine, and a rescue.
And they usually try to like put guys out of the academy, you know, that first probe year. They try to put them in like, you know, stations that burn, you know, and stations that get fires. They're not going to put them, like a lot of the far north stations don't tend to see a ton of activity with regard to house fires. So I ended up my first month at least. So like you're at this station for a month, rotate to this one, you know, so you can kind of you know, get all the guys in your shift, work with, you know, all that kind of stuff. I ended up on engine 4, which is, you know, the farthest basically southern Peoria station. Gets a lot of fires down there, and with a really great captain and all that, and so so I ended up on that station, which again, it gets a lot of fires, but it also gets EMS calls. Like,
right. Do you remember your first fire?
I do. It was with this captain named Tim Allen. I mean, dude, kind of a legend on Peoria Fire, like really good dude, super aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool getting my first fire with him. He's just majorly aggressive dude. I'm like, oh, I like this, and it was just it wasn't anything, spectacular. It was the whole back of the house is on fire. Like, just the back portion of the house is on fire. We went down the driveway, put all our stuff on, dragged the line back there, and then went in through, basically there was like this screened in porch thing,
Mm-hmm.
It was starting to come into that when we got back. We just put our stuff in, started hitting that. And then, he was like right in there,
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm just gonna go, and he was kind of like, and he knew that I, first fire, like he let me grab the hose and do it.
Mm-hmm. You didn't have assigned positions, like when you got to engine 4 and you had this captain. He wasn't like, all right, you got the nozzle. This guy will have, he's driving and I'm the captain. Like that wasn't assigned. It was just like normally the captain would take the line. Is that how that worked?
I mean, obviously you got your engineer that's going to pump,
right?
Captain and your hosman, but like, basically like the engineer would get out, immediately start, getting the hose out.
Okay.
He's already being pumped here the minute he gets out.
Yeah.
And then he'd usually, lay the line out while the captain did like a, basically a size up.
Yep.
Of what's going on. And the hosman would be involved in that process too. But usually the captain, especially like the old guys, more aggressive guys, like, they grab that hose. And if that new guy or whatever is not like, he's going, like, it's like, whatever, dude, like, I'm going in. And
I ain't waiting for you, kid. Let's go.
Yeah. And so, usually the captain will, grab the line and then the fireman will just kind of be behind him,
backing him up,
open it up. So
interesting.
He let me grab it and do it because he knew that I, wanted to get it a little bit, and it was my first one.
Yeah. Yeah. Like in the fire, in the fire department, it's in FDNY, everybody's got an assigned position. I mean, our resources are vast. Like, I mean, there were 5 guys on an engine, 6 guys on a truck, and everybody had a position. Nozzleman, backup man. At the time, we had a doorman, control man, the chauffeur, the boss. The truck had a boss, a chauffeur, 4 guys on the back.
Chauffeur.
Chauffeur. So we all knew what to do. Nobody was taking anybody else's job. Like there was a roof man, everybody had. It's interesting to hear smaller departments. Well, it's just like,
yeah. And I could totally like see, like, I mean, you guys might have to deal with like larger friggin' commercial stuff,
Yeah. What kind of buildings? It was all private dwellings.
It was all residential stuff. I mean, residential. Like occasionally some commercial stuff, but like, most of fires were all house fires and on the south end, primarily, again, not totally, but a lot of south end fires and pretty small homes, with those small homes, it was a lot of balloon construction, and so if you didn't get control of it pretty quick, it really, and the houses are real close to each other, and like, you start, catching, the next house on fire, and it could get out of hand. So
wood frame houses, man, they'll go up quick if you guys don't get there. And you guys, I mean, the volley companies take a little longer to get there, but you guys are on call 24/7.
Yeah.
Always open, not always doing business, but you're always open. And, so you guys got there probably pretty quick. Other companies, did you have a problem with any other companies coming in trying to jap you out of your first due job type of deal?
That is like, so there's a lot of aggressive dudes on Peoria Fire. Yeah. I mean, like, and that's one of the things that I really loved about the job was like dudes who were fighting over, positioning, because obviously you do not want to be the engine that has to lay in.
Right.
It was a second company. And a second engine company typically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like there'd be like, the first company got on, size up. These other 2 companies are coming in, maybe opposite directions of the street. Yeah. And it'd be like this, like, all right, we're going, you guys, some other captain that had more like rank or some, more seniority be like, all right, engine 3, you guys lay in here. We're going to go up, so they could go play.
Oh, right.
And not have to lay in the hydrant. but yeah, it was fun to watch guys just like, I mean, like go mental for that short window, you know, where they're just, but then watching guys like even after the fire's over, like putting out like maniacs during overhaul, you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and just like getting after it, you know, ripping stuff down and just being, you know, animals, even though you're just cleaning up for the most part. But there was a lot of rekindles that happened, you know, and you didn't do a really thorough overhaul. Like you were just back, you know,
Right.
4 hours later or the next shift is back.
You didn't want that, man. That would be no good for us, man. You had to go back to the same fire.
Well, it was a lot of aggressive dudes in that department, and like a lot of the like older guys that when I came on, just aggressive guys that like really got after it, which was it was fun. You know,
that's what you want. You want aggressive fire department for sure. You want to get guys that get in there and yeah.
I mean, it was like if you didn't like really get in there and like to the point of like you're on fire, you were like viewed as like, you know, a beta. You know, I mean, I can remember like this one captain I was with, like, and we went in there. Or, you know, on our knees and like it was going up my bunker pants, the heat, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and my legs were like burning, like it felt like they were burning.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, how much further are we going to go into this? You know?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, but then it takes me back to like what I said about buds. Like, oh, this is pretty wild. Like I might actually, might catch fire. You know, like
this is fucking wild.
Yeah, well, it was fun, but I was like thinking, I'm like burning right now, but he's just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, that, you know, being a young fireman, when I was a young fireman, I'm like, all right, fire's supposed to be hot. You're in a fire. It's supposed to be hot and smoky, but I'm like, all right, how do I know when it's too fucking hot? Like, is somebody going to tell me as a probie that it's too fucking hot where it's time to go? Because if not, I'm going to just keep going. You know what I mean? Like, whether I'm getting burned or not.
Yeah, and there was like older guys that were still on that, like, you know, literally like, you know, guys that wear the leather helmets type thing. And guys those older guys that were trained by the older generation that retired, you know, they weren't wearing hoods, you know, and they would just go by the heat in their ears and stuff.
Exactly. Yep.
Because like, I mean, like literally you'd see these seasoned captains where their helmets look like they're just melted, like
a fucking black potato chip.
Yeah, especially like the guys that like were into the leather helmet thing.
The leather helmets, yeah.
You're putting that giant piece of coal on your head. Like, there's no way that's healthy.
It can't be. It can't be. I spoke to some, you know, guys that they called them rubber goods. It was a rubber jacket and rubber boots before we got bunker gear, which was in like 1993. They made the transition, and guys knew how far to go because they weren't in bunker gear. They could feel the heat on the ears and they know, okay, this is the point where we have to stop because we're all going to get fucking burned and we'll be too deep. When they went to the bunker gear, you're so encapsulated, they went further. Senior guys went further because they didn't feel the heat yet. And by the time they felt the heat, they were too deep and they were getting hurt. So there was like a big issue. The guys didn't want to wear fucking bunker gear. You know, it was a tough transition with that stuff, man. I mean, it's good that you can not get burned, but now you're going deeper into a fire where you probably shouldn't have been. So it was a transition there with those guys. The older guys didn't like it at all.
Go figure.
Yeah, right. Go figure.
But
so here's where is this?
That's that. So what's sad is like I couldn't find any actual pictures of me with fire gear on. I know they're out there, and I actually, you know, texted some guys, and apparently they're gonna, you know, try to send me, you know, some pictures or, you know, whatever.
If you find any in the next couple of days or a week or so before I put this out, send them to me, and I can still put them up.
All right. Yeah, that's just that, you know, with the engine that I was on my 2 girls.
Nice, man. Awesome. What kind of tours did you guys do? 24s or 24. ABC shift or
3 shifts.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So, I mean, I honestly, I love the fire stuff. And like, fire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You guys did a lot of EMS running though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And my brother didn't like tell me anything about that. All right. I just figure like, you know, cutting holes in roofs, backdraft, you know, cutting people out of cars, like
man, doing it.
And then, you know, then they made us become paramedics when I got on the job, which I had no interest, but it like contractually, which we didn't know about till we got in the academy.
Really?
We had to become paramedics, and they put me through in a year.
Wow.
Year. Yeah.
Holy shit.
You're paramedic. So you can understand how heavy that tempo was with.
Yeah.
And then, and like I said, with those stations that had some good burns also came ridiculous EMS calls. I mean, the first call I was on, not first, but like one of the first ones at night I went out on, like the dude walks off his porch. It's like 2 a.m. We got out of bed, 2 a.m. And he's like, man, I got me a toothache. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I can't even like understand that this is happening. What? And I'm looking at, and like, but obviously like the captain engineer were like, this wasn't like odd,
Yeah. You're like,
I'm like, what is going on? Like, I didn't call 911. Like as a kid, I'd have to be like bleeding from the jugular.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
And it's just those kind of calls and it's most of the job.
Yeah. It's huge on the job, man.
Didn't have any interest. I mean, some guys, really do have a passion for EMS stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're running, it's a separate ambulance service that does transport.
Yeah. So you guys would show up, the engine would show up, and then the bus would show up.
T would show up and transport. But like some guys had actually liked the EMS stuff. I did not at all. I definitely enjoyed lowering people's blood pressures rapidly in the teams versus trying to maintain someone's blood pressure.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
But whatever, it came with a job and that's what I was going to do. I mean, I do like the stuff, and you will agree with this, like the stuff that you see on EMS calls is some of it's the weirdest crap. You couldn't even it's almost like you wish you wrote a book about it, or you wish somebody wrote a book about it, because it is just, you can't make it like a sci-fi show can't even make it.
Yeah. What's one of the weirdest things that you've seen?
Weirdest call, hands down. And if there's any guys from PEORIA Fire that watch this, like they will know, because they'll remember it, because it came in over dispatch, and it came in, and the dispatch, the lady, read it this way over dispatch. 53-year-old male with a corkscrew in his penis.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's how it came. Like
that's how it came over.
Yeah. And again, every station is listening to every other station.
That's right. Right. Yeah. You told me that every station, he has every run.
Yeah. Even
all night long.
Night too. Everything.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. But because there's a night mode and switch. Mm-hmm. At the time, like you listen, even today on the department during the day, everyone's listening to every station, but it was during the day.
So you get the call. You're on the rig for the call, corkscrew in a penis.
I think I was on engine 12. And we get there, and the guy's sitting on the couch with a blanket over him. And I was the medic, because engine 12 is an ALS machine. And so I'm like, all right, let's see what we're dealing with here. And I, pull the blanket off, and like, this was the size of it.
Of the corkscrew?
No.
Or his penis?
The meat wagon.
Oh my God.
All right. It was the most gargantuan thing I have ever seen. Necrotic, black and blue. Like, I still, to this day, Kenny, have that image in my head.
Oh my God.
And team guys would say, well, there's a reason you have that image in your head. But regardless of that, which I will agree to, a little bit, but regardless of that, like I was like, holy crap. But there wasn't any like bleeding. There was no blood.
Wait, was the corkscrew, hold on.
This is going to get confusing. So he did not like take a corkscrew and screw it down into his wang. Okay. He took how like a corkscrew, like you screw it and it goes up in the gears, right?
Yeah.
Like the gears go up. He between his friggin' wiener and his balls, he put that thing, down at the base of his wiener to basically create a tourniquet to make his dick bigger. Okay. And then he cranked it down so that his dick would get bigger. and it obviously started to swell up. And then, so I didn't even see the corkscrew because it was so swollen.
Oh my God.
Now, I said, hey, buddy, I said, when did you do this? And he goes, 2 days ago.
Oh God. 2 days ago.
And I'm like, why didn't you call anybody? You know what? And he's like, well, I thought maybe it would go down. But I'm telling you, it was like the most horrible looking thing you've ever seen.
My
Again, no blood, nothing for me to really do, right? And
you didn't uncork? You didn't turn it the other way?
No, I couldn't even see the cork. I mean, I could see like part of the wood, like, or part of the cork,
like the handle or whatever. Yeah.
But it did, and then, obviously, like me being me, I'm like, why did you do this? Well, why? and he says it straight up. He's like, I was beaten off. I mean, he just says that like straight up to me. And
God,
to get off is what he says. And
with a fucking corkscrew.
I know, but
that's sick.
But then, like, he kept saying, he said numerous times, he said, I'll never do this again. And I'm like, I'm like, yeah, you probably won't, buddy.
You probably won't be able to, but if we don't get you to the hospital,
the medics show up, they look at it and they're like, oh, good Lord. And how'd
you get the beans? How'd you get the beans over the frame?
Yeah, that was exactly what it was. And so, we just loaded him on the cot, had the blanket over him. But when he stood up off the couch, and his sweatpants were down. And so I just pulled the sweatpants up a little bit, and a spatula falls out. And
out of his sweatpants?
Yeah.
Or out of his ass?
No, out of his sweatpants.
Oh, a spatula.
The spatula falls out. And I'm like, hey, what's this? And he's like, oh, getting off. I know. So Kenny, corkscrewing your wiener and then beating it with a spatula is the kind of stuff that you can't write in a book.
You cannot make that shit up.
No.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, buddy. And so AMT took him, but I knew the guy. I had done some medic time with the medic that was on that rig.
Yeah.
And I called him and said, hey, what happened to Corkscrew?
We call him Corkscrew from now on.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I got my phone blew up with Corkscrew texts, all kinds of other texts, from other dudes, because everyone heard the call.
Yeah.
And then I'm not kidding you, the minute we get back in the station, the phone's going ringing because they want to hear about.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
But he went to, apparently that guy, he went into surgery and they removed the whole thing.
Oh
so God. His, I'll never do this again. Yeah, you won't do that again.
Right. Until he did it again. I've heard the truck companies, engine companies go to an EMS run and guys have had those, those metal cock rings on. Oh, yeah. And they can't get them off. Yeah. And as the engine, we don't have the tools to get them. We don't have the tools to get them off. So we have to call a truck company. And the truck company would use the ring cutter and fucking. But
yeah.
When you get one, you get that call over the radio.
There was a ring cutter in every EMS bag.
EMS bag, yeah. I wasn't using that thing. I'd call the truck for the and usually one or two guys, the whole truck company would come out. The chief would show up. Everybody wanted to see what was going on with this cock ring in the hospital. Oh my God! But a corkscrew, that is insane. Insane.
And like I said, it wasn't going into the house what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to maybe maybe his blood pressure's low. Maybe he's friggin' losing too much blood, or I got to put pressure. But there was no blood at all. It was just
I
giant mega sausage.
Oh my God!
That will haunt me today.
Oh man, that is insane. A corkscrew. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that, man. So is that the call, the final straw, where you're like, you know what? I got another opportunity here where I'm gonna open up my own fucking security business.
No, that call was that was probably the middle of that time on
yeah.
Because I'd already been a medic at that point,
Right. But you're right. EMS calls are the ones like, listen, we remember the fires, like we talk to each other about fires and and all the guys that I see. But the EMS calls are the ones that you fucking sit down and go, I can't believe this guy did that and this one and that and blood and guts and stuff. But the EMS calls are the ones that either haunt you, like you said, with that, or really, really funny. But yeah, the EMS stuff, I knew what we signed up for, but it wasn't my favorite part of the job. Yeah, you know, I mean, we did CPR. I can't even tell you how many fucking times. You know, hundreds and hundreds of times we were doing CPR, and it got to the point where we were just like, fuck. And during COVID, forget about it. Forget it.
I'm sure.
I mean, 8 times a night. We had nursing homes in our area. We do them like 8 times a tour. It was unbelievable. So,
times a night.
Yeah, and during that first couple months of COVID, I mean, we were doing CPR, and they'd have to call another engine company to come and do CPR on somebody else in like 2 rooms down. Like, it was insane. It was insane. So the EMS runs, I could. Part of the reason why I was like, I'm done with EMS. I don't want to do this shit no more. Like, the fires were down for me. Wasn't catching enough work to get through the EMS run. So I was like, you know what? It's time to close this chapter, and retire.
Nothing like that, like calls like that or anything like that. So I when I first got on the department, like, I don't know what an NYPD fireman makes, but Peoria firemen just get
FDNY. It's all right.
Let's just say, no fireman is getting rich. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
And so, like, I thought, like, my wife's always been a homemaker, or as sandwich maker. She doesn't have a problem. She doesn't problem me saying that. But hey,
man, you better watch it. I seen a video of her freaking clipping you coming out of the fucking.
That's built up wrath.
I love it. She stretched the camera. She was like
living with the Vanilla Grill for 20 years that we've been married. But anyways, like, she's always been a homemaker. So I've been the breadwinner, and I kind of thought, like, I didn't realize what I was making in the teams I almost made chief. If I stayed in, I would have made it because I passed the chief's exam, but I didn't realize what I was making in the Navy with all the special pays, and include the bonus stuff. And I thought I was just going to make that in the fire department. And I wasn't when I started, and my wife's looking at the first paycheck and she's like, you got to find another job, or like, you got to do something else. I mean, most firemen have some sort of supplementary business. They're all, jack of all trades. I, unfortunately, and all my buddies would attest, I'm not too handy at all. Like, I just,
me neither. Don't worry. Don't feel bad.
I can't even build Legos. My kids big into Legos, and sometimes I'll sit on the floor with them. I'm like, I can't do it. Too complicated, too much going for my Neanderthal brain. But anyway, so I was like, I really miss, what I did before too. Like, and so I was like, can I still maybe I can contract work, still. And so I did, that was fun. I did contract work and the fire department. And were you guys allowed to trade shifts?
Yes, we could trade tours. It got to the point where it got really, really bad where they had to put a stop to a lot of it, but we definitely traded tours a lot.
Yeah. Like, I've heard stories of, like, out there, bigger departments where guys can kind of get lost, because there's so many guys. Yeah. You kind of get lost and like dudes paying dudes like for months,
Yeah. Yeah. It's happened in the past, and they caught wind of it, and, they put a stop to a lot of it. So you trade a couple tours here and there, you get tours OT, a few tours, but I think there's a limit on it now.
Okay. Well, they also have rules on our department about, like, trading and all that kind of stuff, but you could trade, you could trade with guys and all that stuff. So I would trade with guys, and I'd go, work an overseas trip and, make a decent amount for, usually no more than a month. Just cause it's like that this? So that was one of the contracts I did, which was, try to group basically sitting on container ships, off the coast of Somalia. Like, there's like you get on the ship with 3 other team guys and, do a Middle Eastern run, and you'd ride the ship.
Making sure no fucking pirates come up to the ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking wild. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, but it was sleep, eat, and lift, and Netflix. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's like, and then deal with like weird merchant mariners. Like, some of those weird, dude. Like,
really?
You've been out at sea way too long, buddy. I mean, like, the guy that owned that company that I worked for, he got in with Maersk after the Captain Phillips thing and all that.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's basically like, hey, we could put team guys on your ship, and
and just protect the ship. I mean, usually it's like a little skiff of like 3 Somalis that would like
it's a bunch of skinnies on a little dinghy that like and but here's the thing: in the early days, they had free reign, do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like once they started getting shot at, like especially if it was a U.S. flag ship and a Mir ship, like they knew where they were getting shot at by team guys.
Right. Okay.
So they stopped hitting those ships. But when I was out there, you still hear the distress thing, and you'd hear ships getting attacked all the time. But they were usually foreign flagships.
Okay, got you.
So, but yeah, it was sleep, eat, and lift, and pretty boring for as far as like if you're into running and gunning stuff. But it was good pay, and got to work with team guys, and and all that kind of stuff. So I basically I kind of did that to supplement, and with that in the fire department, and taking some overtime, it fed the kids and stuff. But I also got burnt out because I traded all that time, had some, significant, like just shift work, with sleeping stuff, and, it all caught up on me, and had some health stuff with sleeping problems with regard to like the shift work and all that kind of stuff. And so I decided to leave the fire service and leave the overseas contract work as well.
Gotcha.
Started working with Tomahawk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all those guys, they were at Team 2 with me, same time period. So but yeah, so started working with them a couple year or two, and then they're giving me a lot of trips, and I mean I love those guys to death, and I just I asked one of the guys, I said, do you care if I kind of also do my own thing on the side, which I have to mention this because it was so freaking funny. For you guys that watch Kenny's podcast, like know Kenny, like the very first trip I met him, he was a role player for Tomahawk Strategic Solutions, and he freaking was the funniest dude. I like he was. It was like an interrogator that the SWAT team was using, because I basically we go out and train SWAT teams, and it was interrogator, and Kenny was this role player, and he was off the freaking hook, man. Like if you were making up, there was like a piano in there or something, and you were doing something or playing the piano or yelling about, like, it was the most like wild, off the cuff, but like it felt scripted, and I knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, because I'm standing there with the SWAT team, and I'm like, in my cackle laugh, my laugh, I'm like, I cannot contain myself right now because this is too funny.
I would always just try and whatever was around me, I would just improvise. The guys running the show would be like, all right, Kenny, just you got to talk to this guy for 15, 20 minutes, and you're having a hard time. And that's basically just go. And I would find whatever was around me, and I would just use whatever I had. And I didn't want to be like a total goof. I wanted to actually help these guys and not just. But I tried to make it as fun as possible, man. It was it was goofy, but it was in context. You know what I mean? It wasn't like ridiculous, stupid. Yeah.
It was like it was so impromptu, and like but it seemed to me real. Like if I was an interrogator, like I would be dealing with somebody like this.
Some fucking nut job.
You're not like interrogator, negotiator,
hostage negotiator. Yeah,
like a nut job. But yeah, I just had to mention that. But
thanks, man. I appreciate it. And that's how we met, was through Tomahawk.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, this guy is awesome, dude.
So anyways, yeah, I was working with them, and they were giving me trips, and like they're really gracious to me with giving me work, and but I also got 4 kids, and anytime I go out to dinner, I got to freaking take out a loan to do it.
Yeah.
So I said, like, hey, is there gonna be a problem if I start my own company, kind of do this locally in Illinois, train law enforcement, train tactics, firearms and stuff, and Pete's like, I don't care,
Yeah.
And so because again, I'm not full time with them, I'm just a contractor. But
1099, right?
So that's what I did, and all I did was, like, I already had Vanilla Guerrilla Security LLC when I did contract work.
Yeah.
But, it was just on paper, like, and I made it a goofy name when my wife was like, "What do you want this business name to be?" And I just was like, Vanilla Guerrilla Security. Joke.
She was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
That's why. She's like, "Are you sure you want your business name to be this?" And I said, "Yeah." Like, because again, like with the contract thing, it was just on paper. You know what I mean? That's how I pay me and stuff. So like, I was like, yeah, just like, that's what's going to be. And so I already had the LLC for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I just called my cousin up who does graphic design. And I said, can you make a gorilla logo that looks like me a little bit?
Fucking awesome. I love it.
With nods and,
Yeah.
with a mean look and, and then I said, I want the lettering to be like the Terminator look, Terminator 2, all the stuff that I like. But she produced that and built a website and found some local team guy here to help me with courses. Lives in the next podunk town.
Nice.
Next podunk next to me, Nick Miller, 22 years in the West Coast team.
Did you know him at all? Did you ever run in with him during your time on the teams, or did you?
He was in the West Coast.
Ah, right. So, gotcha.
No, we didn't.
You didn't know each other, but you just linked up after. Yeah.
But it was like convenient because I'm like, hey, because I obviously got to have help with stuff. And I'll help you out. So he helps me. I got a couple local SWAT guys that help me with courses. And all that kind of stuff. So, so that's what I'm doing. I'm still working, still traveling with Tomahawk, and I'm doing my thing here, and it's fun. It's
So you train local SWAT teams. You have any you train civilians too in clearances and stuff? Yeah.
So all the courses are on my website, vanillagorillaSecurity.com. My Instagram's Vanilla Gorilla Security. My Facebook's Ben Wallick. Basically, YouTube. If you just type in Vanilla Gorilla Security, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Beware of what you find, though.
If you start digging deep, man. Bro, I went on, I think it was Instagram or Facebook, I can't remember. And I scrolled down and you're on the beach and you're quoting Point Break.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking awesome, man. That was
and like,
what am I going to paddle to fucking New Zealand?
It was stormy. We're in Costa Rica, and that's one of my favorite movies. And it's up there with Predator and and all that, and Rambo. But like I was just like, dude, I got to do this quote because it's like looks kind of stormy and cloudy, but yeah. So you'll find like, and my thing is like when I decided, like, I'm like, I already have a really goofy company name, and I'm like, you know what, I like, some may say like, hey, that's not very professional what you posted, like, but like I don't care because I'm going to be me. And if you don't like it, if you want good training, like I'll give you good training, but we're also going to have fun. Yeah. And I'm going to make it fun. And, and I just want to, I'm like, I'm not going to be, there's too many friggin' team guys out there that are, and I'm not going to name any specific names, that are total sellouts and totally in it for the money. And, are just sold out of who they really were. Like back when we were an E5 Mafia knuckle dragger. Yeah. And I said, I'm just going to stay, at 43, you could ask a guy going through buds and they'd be like, this Ben's the same
way.
He has issues, he's got major problems up there, but but he's the same.
This is who he is. Yeah. Take it or leave it. This is how he's always been. He ain't changing now for anybody.
Exactly. So that's what I'm doing. And if I don't make $1 million, and I'm not in it to make $1 million, like I just want to feed my kids, and go on vacations with my kids and spend time with my family and put some food on the table. That's all I care about. And
it looks like you're doing it. It definitely looks like seeing the pictures of you guys, going away and stuff is so cool. Like you're very family oriented and it's awesome to see. You look like you got a great dynamic with your family, and that's huge, man. That's awesome.
At the end of the day, it's like when the dust settles, like that's really what matters most.
Yeah, for sure. Go
ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, like,
about the time limit for this. So
say that again.
No, keep going, Kenny. No, you mentioned the hour and a half cusp, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, we got 20. We're good. We're good. Okay. Is there any plans in the future? I was asking you before with your paramedic and fireman background to integrate fire service and paramedics with your security company.
I don't know. I mean, like, I could teach like TCCC stuff, as a medic, but I will be honest, like when you are not doing something, for a while, like it is you can, what's the word I'm looking for? A diminishing skill or you can lose a little bit. Not that I've lost everything that I learned in paramedic, but I mean, I'm kind of like right now just geared towards firearms, tactics, and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And I provide, a type of training that, is very rare for civilians to be able to use, UTM and run around in these abandoned schools that I have, and it's not a normal, like, you're not going to find this type of training
right.
hardly anywhere else. For civilians, obviously law enforcement, yes, but yeah. So, I don't know. That might be something, and not to say that like my company, wouldn't travel if a team wanted training, we would. We haven't really yet, except for I went to Scranton, Pennsylvania to do a course, and that was about outside of Illinois, the only thing that I've done.
Right.
With my company. But yeah, not to say that we wouldn't. We just, we just been getting work locally. So
good, man. Work is good. Being busy is good. And that's awesome. You're teaching a great thing. You're teaching the right way, teaching people the right way to do things.
And if there's anything like I do, like CQC is just, to me, is just, I don't care. I can teach it all day, every day. Like, it's fun. For me, it's fun. It makes you think. I taught it to all those East Coast teams. It was fun. And it's just, especially like, with Tomahawk, with like, because the buildings that I use all the time. So I know them. I know every room. I know what mistakes they're going to make. I know what they're going to do wrong. But like, I like going into a building for the first time, at a dry site and setting up a run and, thinking like, hey, how would I clear this? And then
keeps your brain sharp, man, doing that.
Like you got to remember fair amount of stuff. And, that's fun for me. Like, I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. And, you're passing along some good skills that have helped you guys out in the past for sure.
And and that's also a great point that like, it's like, if I, at the end of the day, if I can just pass on some stuff that we learned, that we paid in blood, that maybe a law enforcement team doesn't have to pay it in blood. Yeah. It's rewarding. So
good stuff. Vanilla Gorilla Security.
Yeah.
On Vanilla Gorilla Security website, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Ben Wallick, fucking Pony Express, Vanilla Gorilla Security. Before we go, let's pop up a picture or two. I like to do a little picture time. Yeah. And then we'll start saying our goodbyes. So let's see. We got, what's this one? Did I put this one up before? Ooh, look at that. That looks like, is that like a sniper school?
No, it's in actually a sniper hide. Me and another guy, we're in Taji, Iraq.
Taji, Iraq? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Very cool. Here's another one. There you go. You look miserable in this picture.
Yeah. That was 05 in Baghdad on a roof. So I carried that saw a lot just because they're like, oh, you're a bigger guy, you can carry the heavier gun. Okay.
Yeah. Well, how come nobody made me carry heavy stuff? I wonder why.
Yeah, it's like you get in buds, like you get labeled as like a 60 gunner, and then it like carries through your career.
Yeah.
So that's another Iraq picture. Again, the face painting is not necessary, but necessary for fun. That's a famous picture on a famous person's set. Old Sean Ryan.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's his painting on the background of his set.
No shit.
Yeah, and I'm grabbing his ass on the right hand side.
Oh, yes, you are. Look at that. You grabbing Sean Ryan's ass. That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. You still keep in touch with him? Wait a second. That's short. You know Sean Ryan, and you're on the lowly Kitchen Table podcast. He hasn't had you on his show? What the hell?
Let's not go into that.
All right, no worries. Very good. Helicopter. Did I poke this one?
Oh, yeah. That's just like, I'm really cool. Look at my gators, because every team guy's got to have a set of gators.
Gators. All right, let's do this one. Oh, is that Buds?
Yeah, that's Buds.
Fuck, man. Look at all that dive equipment. Now, is that like, how long, when you put all that shit on, how long down are you in the water?
Those dives are, Draeger dives are, 10 to 15 feet, more around 10 to 12 feet. And sometimes 2-3 hour dives, just they're long dives. But again, at that depth.
Right.
Did you guys obviously have a dive team on New York City.
Yeah, the rescue companies in the fire department are all dive trained. The truck companies have some of the truck companies, the company in my house, 30 truck, were water rescue trained. They weren't dive trained. They could put on a water suit, whatever it was.
Yeah,
a cold suit
is for the cold weather.
Yeah, and they'll throw that guy in the water, but the divers are actually the rescue guys. They get specially trained. They make 12% more money than everybody else, so they get all the special training. Yeah, somebody had put up that they were the Navy SEALs of the fire department, the rescue companies.
Really?
Well, they're the special. Them and squad, they get all the special training. They're the special operations units and stuff like that. So, yeah,
well, that's like on Peoria Fire, like they have a dive team.
Yeah,
obviously, you know, they were like, "Oh, you're getting on the like right when I got on, you're getting on the dive team," and like I'm like, I don't want to. Like,
right? I thought I would figure that you would be like they'd want you for that rescue company with all your training and skills and stuff like that.
Teams, like I don't love water. Like I don't go swimming for sport.
You don't go water skiing for sport either.
No, that I definitely do. And I'm legitimately still hurt from that, Kenny.
Oh, did you legitimately tear your pec or?
And
oh my god! And your groin.
Thinking I'm in my 20s again.
Oh my god, dude!
But again, you get a bunch of guys like, oh yeah, I can do this. I haven't done it for 20 years, and now this is 2 weeks after the fact, and I am still not healed up because apparently I'm old.
Yeah, it takes a lot longer to heal, man. Wait till you turn 51 like me.
So I don't even know if I'll be walking at 51.
Bro, I think we're gonna cut it off here, man. I had such a blast talking to you, man. This was so fun. Thank you so much.
Same here, buddy.
Dude, I can't thank you enough. I had a blast. This is exactly how I was hoping it would go. A lot of laughs, like just fun stuff. We could have talked for hours and hours and hours with your experience in the SEALs and fire department, in vanilla guerrilla security, Tomahawk, but it was a lot of fun, man. Really, really cool, man. So thanks so much.
Yeah, and like I said, I love like firemen. It's like it's all the same culture. It's all the same guys. It's just guys decided different paths in life, but it's all the same type of dudes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we have the same kind of pranks, the same kind of fucking brotherhood. Guys look out for each other. When there's something happening, everybody shows up for that guy. I'm sure it's the same way.
Huge, yeah, on Peoria Fire. They take care of their own. So
yeah. Cool, man.
All right.
Yeah, don't hang up. All right, because we'll say our goodbyes. I'll stop recording. But I just want to say, everybody, thanks for listening to the kitchen table. Make sure you go on Vanilla Guerrilla Security website, on Vanilla Guerrilla Security Instagram, on YouTube, and Ben Wallick on Facebook. You could find them. Look him up. Get his services. The guy's an unbelievable dude and a plethora of information and experience. If you're in the Illinois area, hire Vanilla Guerrilla Security. So as I go, remember, it must be true if you heard it at the kitchen table. Thanks, everybody. Don't hang up.